Good afternoon. Today we are doing our last objective of the unit. Last time we were working on exponents and square roots. Today we are doing Co12. I can estimate the square root of a number and locate its value on a number line. So it's that estimating the square root that we really need to understand square roots to begin with so we can use that to work with our estimating. So if you look at number one here, it says the area of a square is 25 yards squared. What is the measure of its sides? And how do you know this? So what would the side lengths be of a square that has an area of 25 yards squared? So let's look at, I need to make sure that I am not writing on the wrong page, so I have to go through and do this, so bear with me. All right. This is always fun to do on the video, so my apologies for those of us watching the video. Lots of fun. All right. So if we have a square, we know the area of the square is our length times the width. And if it's a square, what else do we know? Elliot? All sides are equal. All right, so a number times itself. So our length times the width, we're going to call it the side. So side times the side, we know that equals 25. So going back to what we talked about on our last objective, what would a side length be? If the side times the side is 25, one side would be what, Ellen? 5. 5. Because we know the square root of 25 is 5, right? So that's what we were learning last objective. Square root of 25 is 5, 5 times 5 is 25, so each side is 5. So one side equals 5 yards. We know this because we know our square roots. Now we have an area of a square that's 34 yards squared. What is the measure of that one's sides? Elliot? It's a little more complicated, isn't it? It would not be 8.5. Laurel? Between 5.5 and 6. How did you figure that out, Laurel?
Because 6 and 36 is 6 and 5. 25 is 5 and that.
Be careful, you're saying it a little wrong. Not 25 squared and not 36 squared, but the square root. The square root of 36 is 6. The square root of 25 is 5. That 34 falls in the middle, right? It's not all the way to the 36, that's 34. So it can't be 6, but it's bigger than the 25. It's bigger than 5 squared. It's close to 36. So we know our number is 5 point something close to 36. So taking the square root of a non-perfect square requires a strong understanding of the number sense, like Laurel was just explaining. She knows it's between 5.5 and 6 because 34 is really close to 36. So we're going to examine some number sense by making a number line below. So there's not a lot of room in here to make our number line, but make your number line. We're not working with negative numbers today. We're just working with the positive numbers. Okay. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and I think, did we go up to 16 last time? Yeah. So, looking at that number line, we're going to estimate each square root to the nearest tenth and locate its value on a number line. So we are estimating. So is your answer going to be exactly my answer? Sometimes you might be off by like 1 or 2. But it's going to be really, really close. But because it's an estimate, we're not going to say this is the one and only answer I will accept. But it does have to be close. So like Laurel said with this example up here, that it's going to be closer to the 6. So she said between 5.5 and 6, because 34 is really close to the 36. So I wouldn't accept 27, because that's really close to 5. Okay, so I'll explain what that means. So you may want to refer back to the perfect squares that we filled in on our last objective. That's what Elliot did when he first looked at it. He's like, oh, well, let me look back at my perfect squares so I know what the square root is, and then I can figure it out. But that's when we realized 34 isn't a perfect square. But you can look back to it. So you can even take that page out of your binder so you have it up and open in front of you to work on this objective. So let's do these ones together. So, third square root of 34. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to write the perfect squares that we do know. The one that comes before 34 is that square root of 25, and the one after 34 would be the square root of 36. So you're going to want to write those two square roots, because square root of 34 comes in between 25 and 36. So we're always referring back to those perfect squares. So the square root of 25 is 5. And the square root of 36 is 6. So we know on that number line like we made up here, our number is coming in between 5 and 6. Now, where between 5 and 6 is the question? So I don't want to say a range, I want to give a guess as to what the decimal point is going to be. So what would be your guess, Joe?
5.8.
That is a great guess. We know that our whole number has to be the number that comes first. So it has to be 5 point something, because on our number line up here, it's falling in between 5 and 6. So it has to be 5 point something. 34 is really close to 36. So it's going to be at the upper end of those decimals. So 5.8 would be a great guess. I would accept 5.7. I would accept 5.9. Would not accept 5.2. Because 5.2 would be way over here. And 34 is not really close to 25. So since 34 is really close to 36, our decimals have to be in that upper half. Like Laurel said, between 5.5 and 6. So it has to be up in that range. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So let's look at 180. What square roots am I going to put? So the first step is putting the closest square roots on either side. What would you put, Ellie?
169 and 196.
So make sure to put the square root.
Mm-hmm.
So square root of 169 and the square root of 196. What's my next step? Finish. Finding the square roots. So what is the square root of 169? Both.
13.
And what is the square root of 196? 14. So that is my number line right there. It's gonna come in between 13 and 14. So what would be a good estimate? Clara?
Maybe like 13.4.
So I'm gonna start with that 13 because my number always has to be that first square root. My whole number will be the first square root. And then Clara said maybe 0.4. So you're gonna show me where it is on that number line. Let's see, 180 is, let's see, 169 to 180, it's a difference of 11. And 180 to 196 is a difference of 16. So I know it's gonna be on the bottom half. So I would accept 13.4. Do you see how I did that? So 169 is 11 away from 180. 180 is 16 away from 196. So that tells me which side it's closer to. The side it's closer to tells me if I want my decimal on the bottom half or the upper half. Mr. Schultz in the book said 13.3. 13.4 is really close. It doesn't have to be exactly the one that I have written down, but it does have to be close to it. So now let's look at the square root of 5. What's my first step? Colton.
Find the ones in between it, or like the one before and the one after it.
So what would I put?
2 and 3.
Square root of 2?
Oh wait,
And the
no.
square root of 3?
No,
No, what would I put?
the square root of 4. And then the square root of
So this is what I said, to look back at our sheet from last time. So look back at CO11. I actually took it out of my binder so I can have it right there. So we can see square root of 5 is going to fall in between the square root of 4 and the square root of 9. And it is important that we have the correct square roots written because we need to refer back to that to see how far away our number is. So what is the square root of 4? Everyone.
2.
And what is the square root of 9?
3.
And I use that to make my number line. So my first number there is going to be my whole number in my answer. Now, what's my next step? Elliot, find out how far away they are from each other. 4 is only 1 away from 5. 5 is 4 away from 9. So what does that tell me would be a good estimate for my decimal? What do you think, Laurel?
2.5.
So if it was 2.5, it would be exactly halfway in between. Is 5 exactly halfway between 4 and 9? Mm-mm. So I wouldn't want to see 2.5 because it is not halfway. What do you think, Emily? Maybe 2.2? Because that 5 is only 1 away from 4 and it's 4 away from 9. So I know it's on that bottom half. So it's going to be one of those decimals that are on the bottom half. Mr. Schultz on the answer key put 2.3. 2.2 is super close, right? So I would accept that because it has to be on the correct side of the halfway mark. Let's look at square root of 68. What is my first step? Oh, I should see more hands than this. What's my first step? What do I need to put? If I have the square root of 68, Gavin.
And the square root that goes before and after.
So tell me what they are. What should I write?
Square root of 64 and the square root of 84.
Okay, so 68 comes in between 64 and 81. What's my next step? Two people know? What's my next step? look at what we did over here. What should I do with the square root of 64 and the square root of 81? Victoria,
The square root of 64.
so tell me what it is.
Oh, 64 is 8. 81 is 9.
Perfect, so we know our number lies in between 8 and 9. We take our first number, and that is the first number of my answer. What do I do next? Clara?
You find out how far away, like, which one, like, you put, like,
64 is how far from 68?
4,
And 68 is how far from 81?
13.
So what does that tell us, Clara?
That's gonna be closer to, 8 and 9.
Yeah, it's gonna be closer to the 8. It's on the bottom half, because it's only 4 away from that square root of 64, but it's 13 away from 81. So what would be a good guess, a good estimate? Elliot,
Maybe 8.3?
maybe 8.3. Mr. Schultz put 8.2. I would accept 8.3, because it's on the correct side, the correct half that we want. Okay, so now, it says estimate each square root to the nearest tenth and locate its value on the number line. Show your work. So everything we just did up here, that's what I want to see. That is showing your work. That's making the number line. Your two square roots that you write down, use them in your number line. Your answer has to be that first number, then the decimal point, and then which side of the half you are going to go to. What time is it? All right, you are going to work on this on your own because it's this exact same thing we just worked out here. I want to show us our second page. The top of our second page is the exact same thing. Estimate each square root to the nearest tenth and locate its value on the number line. Show your work. We're doing the exact same thing. Now let's look down below that. Now we're going to shift our thinking and we're going to work it backwards. For each decimal below, estimate its value written as a square root. So we're going to work it backwards. If our answer is 2.7, what does that tell me our number line is? Hunter?
First one is 2.
Yeah, our first number is going to be 2. So what's our second number? 3. And it's 0.7, which would be about right here. Now, working back again, what do I need to put? Laurel? Yeah, I need to put those square roots. 2 is the square root of 4. 3 is the square root of 9. So what might our square root be? That would be 2.7. What do you think, Joe?
Square root of 8.
Maybe the square root of 8. Because we know it's on the upper side of the half, so our number needs to be closer to 9. So we're just doing what we did on the first page, but we're doing it backwards. Let's do another one together. We have 3.8. So my answer is 3.8. What's my first step going to be, Elliot? Make the number line. What are my two numbers going to be on the number line? Grace?
3 and 4.
3 and 4. Because remember, that first number is the same as the whole number in our answer. So 3 and 4. So now what do I do? Hunter?
I will 3.8 on the number line.
Yeah, I need to mark it. 3.8 would be about there. Now what? Elliot?
You write what the are the square root of.
Yeah, what they're the square root of. 3 is the square root of 9. 4 is the square root of 16. Now I can figure out my answer. What is my possible square root? What do you think, Gavin?
14.
Maybe 14, because we know 3.8 is on the top half, so our number needs to be closer to 16. Okay, you're gonna do the next two on your own, that's 7.1 and 5.9. The same way, work it backwards from what we did on the front. Then we have some word problems, keeping in mind that word problem at the very beginning with the square that was 25-yard square, and then, oh, we had 34 for our square yards for an area of a square. Same kind of questions. So these bottom ones are the same type of questions like at the very beginning. So instead of just giving you the straight up numbers, it's putting it into words. Same math that we're doing, okay? So work out those word problems. And then we have our review at the bottom, because we are reviewing for our practice test that is tomorrow. So tomorrow we're going to correct this objective, make sure we understand it, and then we're taking our practice test. So make sure you're working on your help sheets. Go back to each objective in this unit. Remember, you can always look at the beginning of our book to see which units are in this objective. We have PO7, PO8, PO9, CO10, CO11, and CO12. It will also tell you our PAR, Pre-Algebra Review 1. Those questions are going to be based off of CO1, CO4, CO5, and CO6. So you're going to want to refresh your memory on what those objectives are about, because you'll have questions on them on the test. And we'll talk more about that tomorrow, making sure we understand what that all means. Any questions on today's work? Okay. And it is handy to have yesterday's objective, or last week's objectives sitting out, CO11, to help you know what those square roots are. If you are watching this at home, I hope you are well, and I hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day. Don't forget to like and subscribe.